Namaste. In our continued bliss to enjoy Sri Krishna's names as it comes in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, in yet another episode of Nama Gita, we are going to see another name, a very interesting name. But before we go into the name, let's relive a particular part of the Kurukshetra war. We know in the start of the Kurukshetra war, Srimad Bhagavad Gita is happening. That is where the names are being discussed now. But as the war progresses, we all know that Sri Krishna took a pratigna that he will not take any weapon to fight. He will just be a charioteer. And then Bhishma Pitamaha had said, "Hey Krishna, I will make you take a weapon." So there was two things happening. The Paramatma has taken a pratigna that he will not take a weapon, and a devotee of this Paramatma says, "I will make you take a weapon." So that's something happening. So at that stage, when at a crucial moment, Bhishma Pitamaha almost wins in making Sri Krishna take a weapon. So what happens was basically Bhishma Pitamaha was keep on pouring his arrows on Sri Krishna, the charioteer. He just didn't care because it's Paramatma, Sarvaloka Maheshwara, doesn't care. But then Bhishma Pitamaha quietly elevated his angle from the Sarathi to Partha, from Partha Sarathi to Partha. So Partha is another name for Arjuna. So Bhishma Pitamaha aims all his arrows now on Arjuna. Moment his devotee is being hit, Krishna gets very wild. He stops the chariot, just jumps from that chariot. This chariot is supposed to be huge and very high. You have to really jump because normally there are steps in which or ladder kind of thing you get in and get out. Here Sri Krishna just jumps in anger. When he jumps, the thud on the Bhumima is actually reverberating across. So that was a ferocious threat because Krishna was very angry with Bhishma Pitamaha that Arjuna is being hit. What happened next is a later different anubhava altogether. But let's look at this episode that Sri Krishna landed with the thud which reverberated the earth. We're going to see another episode related to the name that we're going to see in this episode where somebody else placed his foot like that with a thud where the earth reverberated. So as we enjoy this episode, we will be able to relate to these two. Now let us look at the sloka, 18th chapter, first sloka. But as we have seen, the last episode we saw 15th chapter, 15th sloka. We have now jumped straight to 18th chapter, first sloka. That means in 16th and 17th chapter, 16th chapter it's more of what advices by Sri Krishna. There are not much of names. The names that appear in 17th chapter we have seen in earlier episodes. So we are now moving to the 18th chapter, first sloka.
Arjuna Vacha Sanyasasya Mahabaho Tattvamichchami Veditum Tyagasya cha Hrishikesha Prithakkeshi Nishudana.
In this sloka, Arjuna actually addresses Sri Krishna by three different names: Hrishikesha, Mahabaho, and Keshi Nishudana. We have enjoyed the anubhavams of the names of Hrishikesha and Mahabahu in earlier episodes. But for a quick recollection, Hrishikesha has multiple connotations. Few important ones are Hrishikesha is a name which is to address Sri Krishna as the one who is the giver of all the Ananda. So that is one. And the second inference to refer Sri Krishna as Hrishikesha is one who controls all the indriyas, our senses, Karmendriya, Jnanendriya, everything. So why it is important is that unless we have our senses in control, we can't have our focus in what we want to achieve. So that's why we worship Sri Krishna as Hrishikesha. And Mahabahu, Bahu we know, the shoulder, the power of the shoulders, and he is the Sarvaloka Maheshwara, the Purushottama. And in the 11th chapter, the Vishwarupa chapter, we enjoyed the Krishna's magnificent, the huge, immeasurable magnitude of big picture. And we can imagine the power of his shoulders, Mahabahu. A true rendition of the name Mahabahu can only apply to Sri Krishna. So now Arjuna asks Sri Krishna, "Hey Krishna, hey Hrishikesha, hey Mahabahu, explain me the concept of Tyaga and Sannyasa." Now it's a very interesting question. Sacrifice and renunciation, Tyaga and Sannyasa. And then he is asking Sri Krishna, addressing three different names. One is Hrishikesha, the other is Mahabahu, and the name that we are going to see, Keshi Nishudana. Now, we are not willing to see why Arjuna used these three names specifically to ask this question about Tyaga and Sannyasa, for which to perform sannyasa, a renunciation, the first and foremost is obviously to keep the senses in our control. If we allow ourselves to waver around, forget sannyasa, we can't even achieve what we want to achieve in normal materialistic world. We need to be focused. In sannyasa, it calls for a different level of commitment and dedication and focus or the tapa. So obviously, you have to keep all your senses in control. And who else to worship to keep the senses in control? It is Rishikesha, Sri Krishna. So that is why he is asking. But then, sannyas is all about being sattvic, being soft and all that. So why do I need Mahabahu? That is a logical question. I could address him by any other name, but why should I look at it as Mahabahu? That is because Krishna here says, we are now in the 18th chapter. So from chapter 1 till now, what is Krishna's advice to Arjuna? Do your duty. As a Kshatriya now, you have to perform this war, fight this war, win it. That is your duty, to protect your people, fight the war. So he keeps expressing the single line in different forms of doing one's duty. So it is only that kind of a person who will know the power of doing one's duty, at the same time doing it with dedication to reach the Tyaga, the kind of sacrifice is expected, and to understand sannyasa. So the Mahabahu, who is Purushottama Sri Krishna, he says, you are protecting all of us. So you have been telling me how to do my duty as a Kshatriya. Now with that, who understands what a Kshatriya duty is, how do I understand Tyaga and Sannyasa? That is how Arjuna is addressing. Now comes a very interesting third name, Keshi Nishudana. Now why is now Arjuna using Keshi Nishudana along with Rishikesha and Mahabahu? Is interesting stories there. Now let's go back, rewind a bit to the early days of Sri Krishna and he incarnated. We all know Sri Krishna incarnated in the prison cell of Kamsa, where for Devaki and Vasudeva. Then overnight he is being brought into Gokula, and there he is being grown. But Krishna is always worried that his killer is somewhere else, so he sends people all over the place, hears about a newborn baby in this particular place, and sends many demons to kill. We know from Bhutana to everybody who started coming, and Kamsa is wondering that I've sent so many demons, nobody seems to come back. There's something very serious about this happening. Then orders the most ferocious demon, the Keshi, and then says, you go kill him, gives the assignment to kill Sri Krishna. Now Keshi is ferocious because the demon has got the attitude of Mayavi, or invincibility, and the ability to take any form the demon decides, the Asura decides to take. So this demon takes the form of a horse, a wild horse, Keshi, that's why it's called Keshi. And there are a lot of reference to Keshi in different forms in whole Mahabharata and Bhagavad Gita. That's why we also see Keshi, Kesha in Sanskritam, there is a lot of connotations. One of the things that we talk about, the hair is also Kesha. So when we looked at the name Keshava, there is also where one eulogizing, enjoying Sri Krishna's the dynamic hair that he lets loose at some time. Also, Sri Adi Shankara Bhagavad refers to Krishna demolishing the Keshi, the Ashura, to say Keshava. So the Keshava name comes in multiple dimensions, multiple things. And one of the things to look at is his hair, the beautiful flow of the hair of Krishna, which is there to enjoy him as a Keshava also. Now let's look at the Keshi, the Ashura. The Ashura is very powerful, huge, and is so huge and taken the form of a horse. He gallops at a speed, what we call in the terms of our mind, right? So earlier we saw that is a manastattva, like that. By mind we are the fastest. I can be in multiple places at the same time. I can travel millions of kilometers and come back in the same time in my mind. At that speed, in reality, this Asura could travel, and is now galloping in the form of a horse. A ferocious horse with some big teeth and all that. And when he moves around at that pace, if his tail flows around, he's even disturbing the clouds. So that huge he was. And now he's coming ferociously towards our little sweet Krishna. Our sweet Krishna, all he does is, and he just waits for this guy, and then as he comes, he just snatches all his legs and just does one swing and throws him out millions of miles away. And suddenly this guy, crestfallen completely, this Asura, is now hurt more by ego rather than the body. How can somebody do this to me? I thought I was the ferocious and invincible. Who did this? And he comes back with lot bigger size and lot bigger teeth to crush the Krishna. Now, the way he was coming him, the way he was thought he was making, the Bhumima was actually trembling. Similar trembling that we saw later when Sri Krishna, if an Ashura can tremble, or Purushottama can make a real tremble anywhere. So that is how he was galloping, and he was biting everything to dust, be it trees, mountains, people, anything. The Ashura was just biting everybody to death, and that is the time he comes closer to Krishna. And let's hold it for this now. Okay. Now coming back to Arjuna's time, when Arjuna is addressing Sri Krishna as Rishikesa, we all said that Rishikesa is about holding or controlling all our indriyas, our senses. Here, as Partha Sarathi, what is Sri Krishna holding in front of the chariot? Is holding all the reins of all the horses that is driving a chariot at that speed. So we can equate the horses to our indriyas, which is in the control of our Krishna. Wow, what a great thing to be. Our senses in the control of Sri Krishna is the ultimate thing that we can ever think of. And that is what he is doing with his right hand, controlling the entire senses, the horses. So Mahabahu, unless you have that kind of Bahu shoulder power, you can't hold those powerful horses like that in one hand. And controlling the buddhi of Arjuna also at the same time, because he is wavering. We are seeing from chapter 1 till now, Arjuna is in a multiple state of wavering, and from complete doubt and forlorn to slowly is becoming a consolidation and understanding and clearance in terms of his mind to fight the war. So he is controlling the buddhi. That means his left hand is free, right? So now we'll cut back and go to little Krishna. When this Keshi Ashura is coming, Krishna, what he does is that little Krishna, he was waiting for that horse to come and open his mouth. He put his hand inside, left hand, elbow inside. So the Keshi Asura was thinking he can chew. He didn't know that this Krishna was the Vamana few yugas earlier, where as a midget he came as a Vamana and grew like a Trivikrama in that stature. So Sri Krishna did exactly the same in a smaller portion, just made his elbow grow to beyond the size of the Keshi, who himself was a huge Ashura, and just tears apart his stomach and comes out and kills the Ashura. The Keshi Asura was killed by Sri Krishna, little Krishna, just by his elbow, making it grow beyond comprehension. Now, there's a further extension to this Purana, is that in the Gargi Samhita, where the Gargi Maharishi says that this Ashura was actually the servant of Indra at one stage, who used to carry the umbrella for Indra. When Indra was performing the Ashwamedha Yaga, we know Ashwamedha is about a nice horse and you perform a yajna. The horse is so majestic that a little, misjudgment, this guy Kumuda robs the horse and runs away. But he gets caught obviously, and Indra curses him, saying you will be born as a Ashura with the horse-like features, and he curses him. And now Kumuda says, hey Krishna, because of the curse I am like this, thank you that I have been blessed, that my curse gets demolished by you, Purushottama, and he pays his obeisance to Sri Krishna. Now coming back to where Arjuna is now, Krishna is holding in his right hand the reins of all the horses, which is our Indriyas, Rishikesa, with his Mahabahu, and his left hand destroys all the ego and the arrogance that one could have. Here Arjuna says, destroy my ego and arrogance, because that is part of sannyasa that is needed, or the tyaga that I have to do, for which I have to first destroy the ego and arrogance that anyone could have. And that is what Sri Krishna is done here with his left hand. So with this, we are actually worshipping Sri Krishna as Rishikesa, Mahabahu, and Keshi Nishudana. The Keshi Nishudana is the new name that we have enjoyed this time, and that is because Krishna earlier has destroyed the Ashura called Keshi, and Arjuna remembers that and brings it here saying, destroy the ego and arrogance in me by saying Keshi Nishudana. So just as we want to achieve whatever we want to achieve, let us worship Sri Krishna as Rishikesha, first to keep all our senses under his control, and as Mahabahu to protect us with his huge shoulders and power, and as Keshi Nishudana, destroy all our ego and arrogance, so that we are always at the service of Sri Krishna at all the time. Namaste.
Madhava Achyuta Krishna Hare Rishikesha Kesava Govinda Vasudeva Bhagavan Janardana